What's up guys, Amerie here. It's pretty late at night. Actually, it's not that late at night. It's like, I don't know, 9 o'clock. It seems really, once the baby goes to sleep, it just all seems late at night because it's like mad dash to get everything done that I couldn't get done earlier in the day. Anywho, so lots of packing because I'm about to go to Australia. But before that, I really wanted to get in this video, which is my Black History Month TBR. I've got 5 books here that I haven't read yet, and one book which is kind of like this extra bonus book, which I did while I listened to the audiobook, which I definitely recommend you guys check out. Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. First of all, I never knew much about Trevor Noah, but I couldn't imagine, I guess I would never expected him to have had such a, I don't want to say traumatic upbringing, but first of all, my eyes keep wandering around. I cannot see where the camera is. It's like behind this light, it's so dark in this room. So excuse me for that. But he had such a hard upbringing as far as just like the things that he went through with his family, growing up in apartheid in South Africa. Like, we knew what it was, but the way he breaks down the system and just like how the people who set up apartheid went and researched what was happening in the South in the United States and Jim Crow and all over the world, like with colonialism, just figuring out the systems of what kept people oppressed, and they just put it all together basically. So he said that it was basically taking what happened to the Native Americans, what happened to Black Americans in the States, and I forgot what other places he mentioned, but there's lots of places in the world, of course, and they just try to create the best systematic approach of oppressing, the Africans and in South Africa. And it's just like, it was just, you strip away culture and language and names and you separate everyone and you put them like how they would do with the Native Americans reservations. You do all of this stuff, but you basically combine everything. Like they literally studied everything. I think they also studied like what was going on with Hitler and what they did in Germany and just everything. And so it was just really incredible, but it's really funny too. But the fact that he could go through all that and just seem to be such a lighthearted, good-hearted, funny, kind person who doesn't seem like at all bitter, like I became a fan. He reads his own audiobook too, so if you guys don't have a chance, definitely don't miss Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. It took me so long to get to it, but I'm so glad I did. But check out the audiobook. If you have a library card, get the Overdrive app so you can just start downloading things from your library. That's how I read like 50% of the stuff that I read. Most of my audiobooks, although I do have an Audible subscription now too, like it's incredible. You don't want to miss it. So that's my honorable mention. It's not really an honorable mention, it's just more of a mention since it's the thing that I read and it's the only thing that I read. Another side note, my nails are looking really crazy right now. It was time for me to get my nails done. And like how, I feel like with you guys, I'm like, oh, like when you meet a friend for lunch or something like that and the first thing you do is like, hey girl, what's up, oh girl? Oh, don't look at my nails, girl, they look really crazy. It's just like, we just gotta get it out there. They look crazy. I know they look crazy. It's time. So just pretend you don't notice. Ta-Nehisi Coates' We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy. This is nonfiction. I read his other, it's up there somewhere, Between the World and Me, which I also really recommend. It's basically a letter from a Black man to his son, just about how to get along in America, how to get through, how to keep your head up, how to be a young Black male and how to become a man. I'm gonna read it again. I read it once, and I think I also listened to some of the audiobook as well, which he also performs, which was really great. And this one is about Obama. I don't know why it's called An American Tragedy. I didn't read too much into what it's about as far as the synopsis. I just know that it's his essays and his writings during the Obama years. So I believe he wrote this not just looking back. I'm sure there's some looking back, but many of this was actually written during that time. So this is We Were 8 Years in Power, was the lament of 19th, okay, We Were 8 Years in Power, quote unquote, was the lament of 19th century Black politicians as the American experiment in multiracial democracy ended with the return of white supremacist rule in the South. Ta-Nehisi Coates explores the devastating echoes of that history in our own time. The unprecedented election of a Black president, followed by a vicious backlash that fueled the election of the man Coates argues is America's first white president. This is, I'm sure, going to be very powerful. If you also have a chance to read Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. I would show it to you, but my dad's borrowing it. He's been borrowing it for a long time. In Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad, he talks about that too, like this whole backlash. Like when there were a lot of freemen, and a lot of freemen were creating their own towns, and black people were just in general really rising up and prospering. You know, a lot of the poor white Americans, I just want to make sure this is recording, a lot of the poor white Americans, there's like a big backlash because they weren't getting what they needed or wanted from rich white Americans, so then it suddenly became black people's fault. You know, it's the fact that there's no slavery now and they're taking everything, and that's kind of like that backlash. I think that was the same kind of backlash that we saw with the presidency and with how we could go from Obama to Trump, for instance. One of many reasons. It's very layered. Not all of it is racial, but a lot of it was, or racially motivated, and I think a backlash against like immigration and the economy, which is the same thing that happened in Germany too, like with the Germany being such like decline and having economic hardship, and of course with easy to scapegoat basically everyone who wasn't white and German, right? So it's just interesting. I love reading nonfiction. I'm going to do a video about nonfiction. I do have one nonfiction book, one nonfiction video right now specifically. I talk about different books in different videos, but one video devoted to nonfiction, which is Non-Boring Nonfiction. You should definitely check that out. But I used to read like exclusively nonfiction, like for a long time, for like 7 years. I only read nonfiction, and we'll talk more about that and why I kind of went back into fiction. And I read nonfiction every now and then, not as much as I used to, but I mean, I literally have not just a shelf, I have an entire bookcase. You know, I have these 3 bookcases behind me now. 1, 2, 3, adult literary, sci-fi, fantasy, YA, everything. And then I have health and spirituality, and then I have a whole bookcase that's just like spirituality, religions, world religions, quantum physics. I'm really into science, and lots of quantum physics and astronomy, and history, biographies, symbolisms and esoteric knowledge and things like that, and what I call rabbit hole books, because it's like, do you really want to go down the rabbit hole? We really trying to, you know, people like to go there. You can see a lot of people talk about it, but I like to study things like that. I like to study like secret knowledge, hidden knowledge. That's like my thing. So that said, Ta-Nehisi Coates' We Were 8 Years in Power mini essays. I'm sure they're brilliant because he's brilliant. This is one of New York Times' 100 notable books, and I will continue. I'm going to try not to edit this too much because of like I'm kind of in a rush for packing. I knew I was leaving, but I don't know why I leave packing to the last couple of days, and then something always comes up that throws me off. Also, How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. This is a short story collection. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw in my stories when I purchased this. I am so excited to get to this. I have a few of her books. Actually, I have three of her books, or 2 of her books in different series. I started reading the last season, or the 5th season, but I didn't finish that one. And something happened where I didn't get to finish it. So I'm going to have to just start all over again. But I think I'm going to just begin with this short story collection because these sound amazing. First of all, she's a 3-time Hugo Award winner, and that's, for those of you who don't know, it's a science fiction award. It's like George R. R. Martin wins those, Brandon Sanderson, etc. And she, I think, had like a 3-peat, which is like the first in history for her to be a black female too. This is incredible. But these sound so great. Dragons and hateful spirits haunt the flooded streets of New Orleans in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. That's one. In a parallel universe, a utopian society watches our world, trying to learn from our mistakes. It's another. And another one. A black mother in Jim Crow South must save her daughter from a fae offering impossible promises. That just sounds dope. And in the Hugo Award nominated short story, The City Born Great, a young street kid fights to give birth to an old metropolis's soul. She's just really creative. I've seen her on a few panels or seen her speak. I don't know where the camera is. It's just black there. So please forgive my eye wandering again. If you guys aren't really into short stories, I would say still give this one a try. You know, if you're going to ever try short stories, even if you don't read a lot of them, I would definitely suggest giving it a try. I can't say I recommend it yet because I haven't read it, but I mean, it's N.K. Jemisin. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This won the Walter Dean Myers Award for Outstanding Children's Literature. as well as a Prince Honor book. It's a Coretta Scott King Award, Newbery Honor book. I mean, it's won 4 major awards. The back says, beef gets passed down like name brand t-shirts around here. Always too big, never ironed out. This book is written in verse. It's about a kid. I don't want to open it up because I don't want to know too much about it. I just want to go by my memory. A young man goes into an elevator. His friend has just been shot and killed, and he's going out for revenge. So he has, I believe, a gun on his person, and he's in an elevator. And the reason why it's called Long Way Down is because this entire book is written, like I said, in verse. You can tell here. It's written in verse, and the whole thing takes place just on the way down the elevator. That's the whole length of the story, which I think is really, really cool. I actually had an idea for that too, but then when I saw that he came out with this, I was like, dang it. I mean, completely different subject, but the concept of being in an elevator and the whole story taking place in an elevator, I was like, darn, he did it already. Jason! But I'm really looking forward to this one. Lots of accolades. Took a little peep in here. So we'll just go to page 14. Things that always happen whenever someone is killed around here. Number 1, screaming. Not everyone screams, usually just moms, girlfriends, daughters. In this case, it was Letitia, Sean's girlfriend, on her knees kissing his forehead between shrieks. Oh, man. Oh. I think she hoped her voice would somehow keep him alive, would clot the blood. But I think she knew, deep down in the deepest part of her downness, she was kissing him goodbye. Oh, no. See, that's another thing. I didn't want to get to this book because I just... So many... can't even say young, just black men, women are killed every day in this country due to gun violence, whether it's at the hands of peers, family members, domestic issues like spouses or boyfriends, girlfriends, police. It just hurts my heart, so it's really hard for me to deal with it and want to read it without it bringing me so down. And I'm just really sensitive anyway, so I can be prone to that sometimes. So I just have to make sure that I'm like in the right mindset. But it's time to read this, and it's important that we read books like this. So again, this is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Yeah, Jassie's homegoing. One of you told me in the comment section how to pronounce her name, and I just wish I could remember, because I practiced it after I read your comment, and then I thought I knew, and now I'm like, oh, what was it? Yeah, Jassie, I believe. It's correct, I think. If you guys want to know, go into my books that I'm going to read in 2019, and the comment section she does let us know how to pronounce her name correctly. Homegoing, basically we're following two lines of a family. One line was taken away because someone was taken away from basically was taken away during the Atlantic slave trade. So that person has been enslaved, and then the other person is still in Africa at home, and we just follow like their lineage basically. And you see how their families change and just what becomes of a family that experiences this devastation. Hopefully my heart is strong enough for this as well. Jassie is deeply concerned with the sin of selling humans on Africans, not Europeans. But she does not scold, she does not excuse, and she does not romanticize. The Black Americans she follows are not overly virtuous victims. Sin comes in all forms, from selling people to abandoning children. I think I needed to read a book like this to remember what is possible. I think I needed to remember what happens when you pair a gifted literary mind to an epic task. Homegoing is an inspiration. This is actually a quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates. Definitely looking forward to reading this month. And Washington Black by S.C. Edigan. It's basically about a young enslaved boy who either wins his freedom or escapes, and then he goes on this adventure. This is actually an enslavement narrative, but it's a rollicking adventure, a page-turning adventure. So I'm very interested to see how those two things combine. Because I love the fact that the being enslaved part is not the entire thing. That can be wonderful as well, like the Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. But I don't think I've ever heard a rousing adventure story that's also an enslavement narrative too. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I definitely chose this too because Didi is doing, like I mentioned to you before, I'll make sure I link her channel. She is doing February's Soul Lit reads. So this is my choice. Also, there is a Blackathon this month. Francine Simone, along with I believe 3 other booktubers, are hosting a Blackathon in which everyone's just reading books by Black authors. And there are a few, like, you know, caveats, like, you know, you have like usually with readathons you have like 5 different things that you choose that you want to do, like choose a book that's this, choose a book that's that. So if you guys are interested, I will also link her channel, and then you can find out more about that readathon. So that is my TBR for this month. These are not the only books that I'm going to read, because I'm actually already reading The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. So I want to finish that one before I read anything else, and there are a couple other things too. So that is my TBR for Black History Month, this month, February. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Maybe you might have seen something that you're interested in. Let me know below the books that you're reading this month. Even if it's not anything to do with Black history, fine, read what you want. But if you are reading something that's written by a Black author, I would love to know. If you're not, and hey, you're like me as well, reading The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, and you're reading just a great book, please let us know about that too. It's always great to have a great read in mind, even though there's like never enough time to read all the great books, but it's always great to have recommendations. So please share those in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!